Everyone. Audible? Yeah, not audible. Am I audible to everybody?
Yeah,
Yes.
you are audible.
Okay, fine. Uh,
Yes.
so, okay. So, firstly, thank you for joining in. I would request everybody to, enable your videos because I'm not comfortable talking to black screens. So, as many people as possible, if you can just, connect with your video, it would be great. So, okay. So, I'll be sharing the screen right now. Echo? Okay. Yeah, thank you for the patience. Here it is. So, can everybody see the screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Yes.
So yeah, today I'll be talking about mainly heart rate zones and VO2 max, and I've added a small section on cardiac drift also. Now you must have noticed I've numbered the slides. That's because if there's any query, you just note the slide number, and the Q&A section, we can then go back to the same slide and discuss any queries. So that's it. Let us begin. So these three heart rates, VO2 max and lactate threshold, are important performance metrics in athletes. Basically, these help you to not only monitor your performance, but these tracking these and designing your training plans as per this will also help you improve your performance. So we will talk about this one by one. For the sake of convenience and for understanding, I have taken VO2 max first. So VO2 max is measured in milliliters of oxygen used in 1 minute per kilogram of body weight. So it is basically, it describes your body's ability to bring oxygen into your body through your lungs, transport it through blood through your circulatory system to your muscles, and use it as part of your body's most efficient energy system, that is the aerobic energy system. The aerobic energy system is most efficient in the sense that it generates more ATP, but it is a slow energy system. So the more oxygen a person can use during high level of exercise, the more energy a person can produce. VO2 max is reached when your oxygen consumption uh, remains constant uh, at even though your intensity of workout increases. So basically, when you start running, your oxygen consumption just at the beginning of your run would be less, and it would gradually go on increasing. But at a certain point, your body will not be able to consume more oxygen. It reaches a saturation point, after which it reaches a plateau basically. That point is called VO2 max. So once you reach that plateau, your body moves from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic metabolism. That is, your body starts using anaerobic energy systems, that is glycolytic systems and oxidative systems, rather than the aerobic system. And after this point, lactic acid, of course, your workload plateaus. You cannot take any more intensity after that, and muscle fatigue sets in. So you have to stop or return to your aerobic state of movement to keep going through your workout. Now, this is different than the heart rates. This is also different epoch, which is your oxygen consumption after your workout is over. So don't confuse it with epoch. And you need not confuse it with lactate threshold also. This lactate threshold we'll again be discussing after a few slides. So yeah, you reach your lactate threshold at about 80 to 85% in good, proper trained athletes. Our garment, but people who are there's this Abhinav Bindra sports thing in Pune where you can actually go and measure it. So professional athletes do it. This is a pretty simple test. The athlete is asked to wear a mask, and the input, the inhaled oxygen and the exhaled oxygen is calculated, and they have a formula for this at very high intensity of exercise. So the athlete has to be on a treadmill doing this. Now, so aortic oxygen and see what is happening is actually I'm taking this session with doctors. So this is a very technical aspect. So I am really underconfident, thinking that the doctors would understand this any which ways better than me. So this is the formula in circulatory sense. So these are the average VO2 max values in sedentary males and females. Now the thing is, this is a very good indicator of your lifestyle. So not just athletes, any normal person would have high endurance, high energy values if he works on his VO2 max. So these scores can be improved with training. But of course, this is what we are trying to aim, that we improve this scores with training. but they are also limited by certain factors, like how many red blood cells you have, how adapted your muscles are to distance running, and how much blood your heart can pump. Like we've seen, stroke volume is also a part of the equation. So yeah, age plays a central role. So if you have age on your side, that is why young athletes are very difficult to beat actually, and it declines with nearly 30% by the age 65. Gender, when generally women have about 20% less VO2 max. That's also because of the muscle volume and weight. That's what. So this will be generally 20% higher in men, and altitude. So of course, at altitudes there's less oxygen, so the VO2 max values drop per 5,000 feet gained. It drops by about 5%. Now, improving VO2 max. Now, you must have noticed that this kg per minute is in the denominator. So definitely, as your weight, as you lose your weight, the denominator decreases. So that is one way of improving your VO2 max. And also training at VVO2 max. So in an incremental exercise, the first speed at which the first pace, that is your slowest pace, at which increase in exercise intensity does not result in increased oxygen consumption. So that pace is your VVO2 max. It is the velocity at VO2 max. Now, approximately, this is again empirical, VVO2 max will be VO2 max divided by 3.5, where VVO2 max is the velocity, so it's in kilometers per hour. It's the speed, not the pace. And VO2 max is in ml per kilogram per minute. This example, 48.3.5, 48 divided by 3.5 is mine. So my VO2 max as given by my Garmin is 48, and dividing it by 3.5. So for me, a pace of about 4 minutes and 23 seconds is my VVO2 max. So training at this speed, which I generally reach in my intervals, 400-meter intervals, this will help me improve my VO2 max. That interval training in running is an example of HIIT actually. So any kind of HIIT activity helps you improve your VO2 max. And aerobic runs improve your aerobic. Yogesh, can you mute everybody, please? Yeah. So aerobic runs improve your oxygen utilization on the muscular level. These help you improve your VO2 max. But Garmin users must have noticed that when you do slow runs, LSDs, Garmin tends to say that you've lost your VO2, tends to decrease the value. But that is not the effect that slow runs have on your body. It is just an effect, I don't know, which Garmin, maybe because of the way it estimates your oxygen uptake with HR. So you have to ignore Garmin's VO2 max values when you are doing your LSGs. So that was pretty much about VO2 max. We can come back to it if anybody has a query. Now this is the heart rate zones. Basically, first I will tell you what each zone means, but there are three methods that we'll be discussing. which help you set these zones. But let us first just look at the zones. There are 5 target zones for workouts. So first and second, as I said, they are aerobic zones. So they help, they are comfortable, easy breathing. You do not reach your huffing, puffing breath, and you don't reach your anaerobic systems. So this helps you lose weight because it is more of a fat burning zone. The third, of course, the first 2 zones, in fact, first 3 zones help you, build your muscle fibers type 1, which are the endurance muscle fibers, which are good at utilizing your fat and carbs. So these fall into the type 1 muscle fibers. And the top, so first 2 zones are for losing weight. So anybody who has a target, who basically runs to just loses weight and prefers easy, comfortable runs, that's the zone for you. Third is a moderate zone, which will help in improving your aerobic fitness. So that's where you come into, I would say, just a hobby athlete to someone who is more fitness oriented. And it is where you moderately long exercises, about 40 minutes. That's where you fall in zone 3. And 4 and 5 are hard zones. You will breathe very heavily in this, and this is more for someone who has reached base fitness. They should go for this. And someone who is training very seriously as an athlete, who has certain performance goals, goes for zone 5. So zone 5 is very exhausting and you cannot sustain it. There is, of course, lactic acid buildup. This is basically your sprinting zone. So these are the zones. Now I will tell you what 3 methods are used. So basically, while considering heart rates, there are 3 terms you need to know. The resting heart rate, which is your pulse when you get up early in the morning. Basically when you're dealing with heart rates, you need to monitor it with chest strap preferably. But of course, Garmin will also give you those zones, heart rates. But if you're very serious about training with these concepts, you need to have a chest strap. So the resting heart rate is the heart rate when you get up. Your max HR is, and there's a formula for this again, 22 minus your age. Now this is again very empirical, not suited, does not take all the things into account. In fact, there's a correction for women also. So just because of gender. So now in this formula is not really custom. For me, it gives 185, whereas my strap detected max HR is 191. Must have been during one of my hard workouts or my races. So that's where the reliability factor comes in. But again, all these concepts do work in not at specific values, but in certain ranges. So it's still a good estimate if you're doing it with your Garmin watch. And the third thing you need to know is your heart rate reserve, which is your max HR minus your resting HR. So once you know these 3 things, you can then set your zones. Now there are 3 methods, like I said. One is the maximum HR method. This is pretty simple. You have your predicted maximum HR or your detected maximum HR from Garmin, and the zones are set like 50% of that max HR is your zone 1, 50 to 60, and so on and so forth. Now, this is, I would say, this is also a very old method and not a very custom or very reliable method, because it is essentially very not it's very not very safe to find your max HR. You can't really exert yourself that much and find out your max HR, and the empirical formula is again not custom. So this also doesn't take into account your current fitness. So you don't know your resting HR. In that case, it doesn't take into account your resting HR. So there's this next method, heart rate reserve method or the Karvonen method. So this is what we have been using from the past 1 year, I guess. So this takes into account your resting HR also. So your resting HR is very specific to your own physical fitness and your lifestyle. So it is much better than just the MHR method. Now, this again is my example. So it will be your max HR minus your resting HR. That will give you your heart rate reserve. Now, in this, you arrive at the percentages by taking that heart rate reserve. 60%, for example, third bullet, 60% of my heart rate reserve is 69. And that 69 plus my resting HR will give me my training BPM, that is beats per minute, at 60%. So using the same thing for 60%, 70%, 80%, you can arrive at your heart rate zones. For people who do not want to do the maths, there's a link that I have posted on the slide. I'll post it on our group also. And there you will get a ready-made thing based on your max HR and heart rate reserve, your resting HR. For that, you need to know your resting HR. Now, lactate threshold. This is the third method. This is the method I am using since last December, because that's when I got my new Garmin and it had this concept, so I had to try it out. And the principle behind it really suited me. So for HRR, that method to work, that is okay. But for someone like me, who I basically want to run fast, I like to run fast, and I do not have any lifestyle related disease in my genetic history. I do not have any lifestyle related factors which really put me, where I need to be cautious about. I have weight on my side. So I am more of performance oriented. So I have switched to this method personally. So the lactate threshold is the maximal effort or intensity. It is not your heart rate. It's the intensity that you can maintain for extended period of time with little or no increase in lactate in the blood. So basically, this is the inflection point where your body will move from aerobic to anaerobic state of metabolism. So basically, At this point, lactate begins to accumulate in your blood, and it will lead into mute everybody, please. So uh, it will accumulate faster than it can be removed, and this acidifies your blood, and that's why you feel pukish, and you want to stop at this intensity. So crossing this threshold will your endurance will automatically drop, and you will want to slow down and you will want to stop. And once you stop and the lactate clears from your blood, then only you can again start. So highly trained athletes reach this point at around 80 to 85% of their VO2 max. For me, my Garmin detected lactate threshold is at about 5 minutes per kilometer at 170 BPM. So, what should your goal be in terms of lactate threshold, LTHR? This you want to reach your lactate threshold as late as possible. Uh, uh, so you want to push that point to like my LTHR right now is 170. I need to push it higher. So it is not that I should try to reach 168. I should try to reach 172. My LTHR should increase as I train. That should be my performance objective. So how to calculate your LTHR? So those people who are using Garmin 935, I know because I am using it, and the above versions, they will get it, they have a set test in their Garmin. You can check your LTHR by starting that test and running as per the instructions in your device. But those who do not use Garmin, I think when I was using 235, it did not have this. So what you need to do is go as fast as you can for 30 minutes. Choose a flat road. Go as fast as you can, of course. But press your lap button after 10 minutes at maximal effort. Just press the lap button and continue with your maximal effort. After about 30 minutes, you stop. And the HR, which you had for the last 20 minutes, is most definitely your lactate threshold HR. So that is how you should calculate it if your Garmin does not show it. And these are Joe Frail's zones for lactate threshold HR zones. If you are going to set your zones as per the third method, that is the LTHR method, this is the table you need to follow. Now, Joe Frail describes zone 1 as 85% of your LTHR, which is the zones are pretty similar to the 5 zones we discussed. It's just that the percent of LTHR will differ in this. For increasing your pace, again, the same thing. If you want to improve your pace, you need to work out in zone 4 and zone 5, which is at about, just a minute. Sorry. Is the table not visible?
Actually,
No,
I think slide is getting stuck at lactate
It's
threshold.
stuck on lactate threshold.
I don't understand why. Now?
Might be you pause sharing. That's why.
No, I did not. New share. I think it was limited by time, is it? No, 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 no. Resume share. Just a minute.
Yeah, now it is changing.
Okay, visible now? Is the table visible now? No.
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So, sorry for this. Anyway, so as I was saying, even for LTHR, you need to train in your zone 4 and zone 5 for improved paces. But zone 5 and LTHR is defined as at LTHR or above LTHR. So that's where, sorry, so that's where you would improve. The zones are pretty much same in terms of the metabolism that we discussed, but zone 4 and zone 5 would be your training zones. This is my example specifically. This is how the three zones compare, or the three methods compare for me in my zones. So as you can see, my LTHR is 170 and above, and rest is a slight comparison. Now, the thing is, how would you know which method to choose for yourself? Not because me or Yogesh are saying, you need to actually find what suits you best. Now, in December, I was in a phase where I was concentrating. I had pretty good endurance, but I was concentrating on a time target for my half marathon. So, depending on what you're targeting, now somebody who wants to move from a 5K to 21K or a 10K to full marathon, they might might not concentrate on paces. So they can probably choose HRR. Also, what age you are in. For example, I would not suggest LTHR to my father-in-law because that's not his performance goal anyway. So for him, I would suggest, HRR method. So basically, you need to find where you are currently and who's scribbling. This is like Avyan's class, I tell you. So you need to find what your goal is and what suits you. So I am currently using LTHR because I find it quite interesting, and I actually, can keep tabs on what's happening inside my body just in the heartbeats. So how to do this in Garmin? Garmin 935 and above, they are pretty convenient. You don't have to calculate any of the things that I have told you. You just simply go to your settings, user profile, and you can set whatever zone you want your HR to be displayed for your runs. So there's a screenshot of my Garmin. Uh, I have three options in my Garmin. Of the three methods, also you can choose sport specific method. Like for running, I use the LTHR method. For cycling, I might go for HRR. So this is the freedom your device allows you. You can set any kind of method for a particular sport. For me, I am using the HRR method for, a regular display for all the activities like walk and all, but I use LTHR for running. We will come to the cardiac drift. I think we will have to restart the meeting. So should I continue? Because it's a new concept. So let's start it in the new session.
I'm sending a new link to you. Please don't. Sending this one.